Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Hand-Built Pottery. My name is Kimberlie Wright. Today is June 4th, 2021. All right, yesterday we had a really great class concentrated on Dave, the potter, Dave Drake from South Carolina. It made, he was like the master potter pretty much during that time. And we also looked over some ugly jugs or some jugs back during slavery period in honor of Juneteenth month. Today, we're going to continue our demo demonstrating how to now assemble the geometric shapes just from making our own templates. So last week, we had several templates. I've already produced 3 so that I could manage the time in the class. I have this cylinder. I have this cone with the base. I have a cube with 6 sides, and I have a pyramid, a base and 4 sides for a 4-sided triangular pyramid. All right, so also I've already constructed just the slab for this particular piece, the cylinder, as you can see it right here. And I have this pattern right here. Sorry, I have this pattern right here on it. It's like some cats with some hearts. Somebody donated that to the class. For the cone, I have this swirl pattern. I just decided to put a few patterns on, at least 3 of them. And then here, I am keeping the particular cube right here smooth. And I'm going to use the back of this spatula. As you can see, it has a pattern on it. Sometimes I just use odd objects to be creative as it pertains to the design process and clay. So right now you can see I've pre-rolled out some clay, a slab. I'm going to go ahead and press that. Taking my time to press that in the slab to get the design pattern that I want. And so that was barely even hard enough. So what I'm going to do is roll it. All right, it's really light, but it's going to get the job done of what I need. Actually, I think I'm just going to go ahead and switch. Give me 1 second. So I've decided to switch to this brick pattern with this rubber roller template. And since I've already rolled on this side, I'm just going to flip it over. That's all that needs to be done. Place the whole mat on there and just gently roll it out. You want to roll it gently so that you don't make the clay too thin. Just make sure you roll it enough to get the pattern really pronounced in the clay. As you can see. All right, now I'm just going to go ahead and use my template. And remember, these are just basic templates that we just did in class together last week. However, I said this is a way to inspire you all to go ahead and, you know, produce some more different templates. They don't have to just stay basic geometric templates. Like I gave an idea of how to possibly do maybe like 2 templates of the continent of Africa, and put a strip on it. There are so many things that you can do and make it 3-dimensional. That's basically what I'm saying. So if you want to start out basic and build up, that's what you want to do. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and trace our pyramid shape. As you can see, I'm going to bring the camera down a bit. All right, I'm going to go ahead and trace this out. And as far as the measurement, everything coming together, I think that we will probably be good with all of these patterns except for the cone. I believe that the cone may need a different base, meaning like something a little larger, because I can tell already that my base may be a little bit too small for the piece. But once I roll the cone and secure it, I will know if that base is the right size or too small or too large or whatever. And so from there, to get that box, the base, back on the piece, all I have to do is connect it from each point there and draw a line with my ruler. And I'm just going to do that and go all the way around. At the bottom or base of each triangle. Get my ruler, draw a line from each of those points. And then I have my square back in the center. Now you see that. All right. So I'm going to cut this out. Cut it in pieces so I can just peel it away easily. I'm going to spray some water in between those pieces to go ahead and start reconstituting that clay. Go ahead and place it back in the bag. And what I like to do is already have me some newspaper handy so that I can build the piece on newspaper so I don't have to move it around too much. So I'm just gonna stack my templates back up so that I can use them later, making sure they don't get wet from spray or anything like that. I can always use them to construct something else later. All right, so what I'm gonna do is remove this from the canvas gently. Instead of digging the clay up, getting my finger impression in the side of the clay, I'm lifting the canvas up so I can peel the clay back. And I just want to move the canvas so that I can have a clean workspace. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to take the cylinder and the side that I have the design on, I'm going to flip it on the opposite side or the smooth side, being careful so as not to change the shape. And what I'm going to do is kind of just sort of fold that a little just to see how long it is. And I know I'm going to have to cut this some because I know the sides are too long for what I produced for the top. But for me, I'm just going to go ahead and cut one of my circles off, which one of them is the base, both of them are basically the base, whichever end they're sitting on, but one is going to be the top and one is the base. And I'm going to take a feather texture tool and I'm going to score the edge. First, I'm going to kind of center this out on the paper, score the edge of the base, score scratching some marks so that the piece will adhere together once I add the slip, which is the glue. So for that, I'm going to get a spatula. I'm gonna have two spatulas, one to smooth and one to get the slip from the jar. So slip is clay and water. Some of us know that, some of us don't. Clay and water that we use for glue. Adding a slip around the portion of the base where I've already scored it. And I do want to stand the whole piece, although I'm going to secure one side because I know I'm going to have to cut the other side, so to speak. And while I'm going around that and pushing it in gently with my finger, I'm making sure the top is looking like a circle as well. And so I don't take the design out too much, but I'm just gonna go ahead and go around with my spatula to smooth that in, to make sure to push that a little closer to the base and get it to fit in really tight. Making sure the top, over the top looks like a circle. And now I'm just gonna add a little bit of spray for moisture in the inside, just a bit. I don't wanna make it too moist and then my piece starts to fall on me. All right, I'm gonna come on around. The reason why this piece is too large for the base is because remember the last time when I actually made my templates, I eyeballed it. I didn't actually measure out all the way. Like so I just actually kind of divided a poster board into 4 parts, and then I just eyeballed my measurements. Even Miss Deborah Bell gave me a compliment saying that I did it so quick, but I was telling her in the class that I did not actually measure. So you'll see how everything comes out when you actually put your piece together as it pertains to what you need to adjust or redo. Now I need to retrieve a knife so that I can cut down the piece. And as you can see here, you see where the fold is overlapping. I could cut here, but I want to cut where the pieces are more even and cut straight through so that it could line up, and just try to cut straight as possible. And then you're going to peel back the flaps that you don't need or that are loose and excess flaps, extra flaps. And so you might have to cut again just from stretching. I'm going to bring that around and just cut a little bit more off from where I didn't cut it so straight. All right, so once you stretch it around once again with your spatula, you'll know if it's really, my seam is coming together pretty much perfectly. So I'm just gonna spray just a little water down that seam, and I'm going to bring it together with my fingers and just kind of smooth where the water is kind of dripping right there together. I don't want to score that seam together so that I don't compromise the design that I've rolled on top of it. Instead, I can score from the inside where the seam is. Score and smooth that from the inside. And from the top, I just want to add a little bit of piece of clay, sort of as a Band-Aid, or to make over the seam to make it stronger and make the seam disappear. So I'm just smoothing it out with the spatula and my fingers. And I can go back and smooth inside with my tools later. Right now, I'm gonna go ahead and score the top edge. I'm gonna add some slip. Maybe a little bit more. You wanna make sure everything is really put together and strong. And then I'm gonna add that lid to the top.
Kim, is that lid going to be removable, or is it a fixed part of the cylinder?
So, good thing you asked. And good morning to you. What I'm going to do is seal every part together, and then I will show you all how to make decorative cuts, cutting the pieces in certain areas so that you can have an open type of box, so to speak. Like, I don't want it open right here. I might cut it, you know, across there and add a lip. I'm not really sure, but that's a technique of when you're constructing pieces, you close it all the way in and make a different cut somewhere so it can be decorative, and you know where, like these cuts are smooth. So when I make my cuts, they'll be kind of probably decorative so that I know where they fit when you put them back on, instead of trying to turn them, that type of thing. But you'll see once we get to that stage. But I'm closing each piece in and then recutting a lid off. So I just want to kind of quickly smooth that before it sinks in, and we're going to flip it over so that it can get leveled. We can always come back and smooth that better. All right, and so what I'm going to just do is clean my hands a bit. It had a lot of clay on it, and I'm going to take my time and flip that over and see what the other side is looking like as it pertains to needing to be scored. You can see the edges here. Sorry. Need to be pulled over just a bit. And I'm just scoring it a little so that I don't, once again, compromise my design. I need to wet my fingers so that I can smooth that. And you know, it's hollow. I don't have any type of wet paper or anything in the inside to hold it. So I'll be coming back and forth to smooth it, to flip it over so that my lid on each side does not collapse in until it gets a little leathered. So in a couple of minutes, I'll be flipping it over again. Right now, I'm just gonna go ahead and move to the next piece. I'm gonna center that on the paper. We'll come back to that. So what I'm saying, when I cut this, I may cut it with a wire that has a zigzag pattern, so it'll fit directly on. I'll know where the fit is, or make some type of decorative cut. Right now, once again, I'm gonna move this paper to the side, get a new piece of newspaper for my base, and that's how I was able to move that quickly. Right now we have the cone. I'm going to remove the base from this piece and just go ahead and score one long edge of the cone. Score. I'm going to turn it around so you can see the other side. Score. The reason why I scored those two edges is because those are the two edges or seams that I'm going to be putting together. I'm adding my slip, which is my glue, before I even stand it up. And now what I'm going to do is gently stand it up and start to shape or curve it around until the seams come together. You have to take your time towards that tip portion, you know, actually take your time bringing the whole piece together until you get that inner seam in. And if your hands get too messy or whatever, make sure to keep them clean so that you won't have slip all over your piece and everything can stay smooth. So right now I'm just going to take my feathered texture brush and bring the back of this piece or that back edges together, but I have to bring the front edges together and kind of squeezing and bringing each side over, one side to the other side. Taking my time. I guess we made a cone when we made that Christmas tree lantern in December. We made a cone, but it ended up being a Christmas tree and a tea light candle. So once I get everything glazed, I'll be able to show you all the finished piece of that. This is basically the same project. And so even though I'm compromising my design here, I had to do what I had to do to get my seam together. And just making sure to still shape my cone, look at it from the side. Once we smooth this together, we'll be able to pick it up to see, to make sure that it has that circular shape. So right now I'm just pressing it in together, making sure that the seam is tight before I actually smooth it. I'm gonna start smoothing that slip and clay in together, rubbing it. If anything sinks, you know, you can always put your hand up under here and push it out due to the fact that you don't have a base on it yet. Just like so, just take your time and gently pick it up. All right, gotta clean all that off my hands and clean the feathered texture tool off. Bring that together just a bit more. And I'm gonna take my spatula, spray it one time and go just gently press it up and down that seam. All right, to get that to smooth out even better, what I'm going to do is get my sponge and a cup of water. I'm going to immerse the sponge in the water, squeeze it all the way out, and just gently smooth that seam back and forth. Go back and forth so you don't push the clay one way. And even though I'm kind of going a little fast for the class time, I can always go back and refine and smooth more on these pieces. And like I said before, I knew this base would be too thin or too small. So what I'm gonna do is quickly add that excess clay that I've used to already cut off the cylinder and re-roll this piece so that I can cut the base for the cone. All right, sliding the cylinder out of the way, moving everything so that I don't knock anything over, making any mistake. All right, we're gonna roll this piece, turning it, making sure not to roll too hard, just to get a level circle, not too thin, for the base of the cone. Looks like I need to go out just a bit more. All right, that looks good. And now I'm gonna bring everything back towards me. As I can see, while I'm standing over the cone, that this side is dented in a little bit. Before I even put it on the base, I wanna make sure that I have the bottom looking really circular. And also, before I continue, as you can see how that seam looks from the inside, I'm gonna just go ahead and score it a little to make sure that it's a little bit more put together and tight. Taking my finger and some water and smoothing that out from the inside. All right. So I'm gonna score this edge here. Making scratches all around the edge so that I can get a surface that'll be really good to produce the type of securing that I need to adhere to the other piece of clay. You need some perforation marks or scoring marks to make the glue seep into the creases of that instead of having two smooth surfaces that will slide apart. Make sure your circle looks really nice and gently put it down on the base in the center as much as possible. And then what I'm going to do is hold my tool upward rather than to the side or anything to make sure to get a clean cut around. However, I am purposely making sure to leave just a little bit of amount kind of sticking outward of the edge so that I'll have some clay to scratch up to actually bring together to bring up towards the cone instead of flushing it right with the actual cone. And then I don't have too much to bring up. So as you can see, what I mean is just gonna give that a little spray to create more slip as I go around. And now I'm going to score where I left a little bit hanging out of the edge and bring it up towards the cone. So, you know, the opening right here would have been right here at the base, but I may cut across here to actually have the piece have a lid and a top and everything. I could also add legs to these pieces. I could add handles. I could add three-dimensional shapes or designs. Like I could add a fruit all over this tree to make it like a peach tree or an apple tree or any type of tree I desire. So I'm gonna dunk this spatula in the water and just gently go around the cone to smooth out that edge. And as you can see, as you smooth it around, the slip gets collected on the spatula. You want to continue to smooth that off so that you can continue to get a smooth surface as you clean up the slip or as you smooth around the piece. The smoother your tool is, the smoother the piece is going to be. If you have a lot of clay on it, it's going to get that texture from the clay that you have on your piece. It's just like that's why I continue to clean my hands, because as I'm smoothing, if I have a lot of material on my hand, it's going to get that same texture from what I have. So a smooth hand will produce a smooth surface. All right, so that's pretty much done. It only takes a couple of seconds or minutes, and now I'm going to dunk that sponge once again in my water and squeeze it all the way out and just gently go around, smoothing, going back and forth around that base of the cone. So even if your template is not perfect, there still are just a couple of minor things that you can do to set everything straight or make it right. There is no mistake in art. Remember that. And just smooth up anything you need. So right now we're going to move that piece. I'm going to fold this canvas I had those two pieces sitting on because I don't need it anymore. And I'm going to slide this cone over here. Actually, my paper just tore, and I hate to have my piece on something that's going to cause a problem later. So what I'm going to do, if the paper is too wet, I'm just going to change the paper out. Do everything you need to do possible to make everything the best that it can possibly be. To me, this is not good. You don't want it to get stuck to it later and you have to try to pick it up and peel it off or anything like that. So right now I have cylinder done and the cone. We're gonna move on to, I would say, the next piece. I'm gonna throw this paper away and get some new paper. All right, so I have new newspaper. And what I'm going to do next is our pyramid. So let's get down a little bit more. All right, thank you all for joining. And as you can see, I have this brick pattern on the pyramid, but it's gonna be ending up on the outside. So what do I have to do? I have to gently pick this paper up, put the piece in my hand flat and turn it over. All right. So even though I know I have 4 pieces and I wanna actually, instead of cutting this piece all the way out to put it together, I wanna more bend this, but to get my square back to know where I'm bending it from this side, I could just bend it up, but I want to go ahead and put a line at the same areas at the base, 2 corners of the triangles to get that center square, which would be my base, and that will help me to bend the clay better and straighter on the points that it needs. So it might seem like a lot of work, but it will save you mistakes in the future if you just go ahead and do what your conscience is telling you to do. So I've put the square in the inside, and I'm just gonna go ahead and clean my spatula from doing that last piece and making sure to, again, clean up, move all my tools where they need to be necessary, get everything organized. It makes the process of creating go smoother. And I just wanted to check my cube out to make sure nothing was messing up my design there. So what I'm gonna do is kind of, as I pull up each triangle, I'm just gonna kind of sit my piece or the spatula there in the lines just to see if it's coming up, and gently bring up each side. Even if one falls, I'm just making sure that they all are bending really well. And I can also use props, but I don't have to use props if I just go ahead and, so from there, I'm just going to scratch the edges first, even though I just made sure that all the pieces are bending up properly. I'm scratching each edge that's gonna come together, and I'm going to add my glue or slip on each edge of the seams. And you know, I only add a little bit of slip, not too much, because you don't want the piece to get too messy. And the more slip that you add on there is the more you're gonna have to clean off. So, you know, just use about the amount that you really just need. I'm gonna just sit all of this up here together just so that each side can hold each other up. And just slowly start to push everything together, but not so as to make the piece collapse on the inside. So before I can actually even get everything to stay together, I need to start securing one seam with the other to get something to go ahead and seal. That piece collapsed in the inside a little bit too much, so I had to pull it out before I start to put it together. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure one side of the seam is perfect enough for me to get it together, and go ahead and squeeze that gently with my finger where it needs to be. This particular triangle has collapsed a bit, so I'm pulling that up and going back and putting it together. And before I actually score it, I'm gonna go to the next side and do the same thing. All right. Gently push that together. I think I can actually go to a third side and leave the fourth side open in case I need to get any of the, in case I need to go in the center and put anything together before I finish with the whole thing. Okay, so I'm squeezing the third side together gently. And I'm gonna go ahead and score all three of those sides, but leaving one side open. Once again, like I said, in case I need to open anything back up due to the fact of any collapsing. So I'm gently, not just pushing one side, but bringing the left side with the right side. Going back and making sure to score that gently, not too many lines. Also right around that bottom area. All right, now I'm just gonna go ahead and keep rotating until I actually finish with those three sides. And I have a third side and I left the fourth side open. I'm scoring the third side, bringing the left side towards the right side so as to have it even. All right, now I'm just gonna kind of open this fourth side up and look towards the top, over the top, to see if there's anything I need to push out before I put the last side together. And I think I just have to push one of my sides out just a little bit. And now I'm gonna go ahead and enclose the fourth side together by gently just pushing the seam together evenly with my fingers. And you know, you wanna work gently so that you don't push any of the sides in too much, because you don't have an armature or a mold, paper mold in the inside to actually hold it up. So you don't want to push too hard. All right, so I'm just going around the bottom edge to make sure to push the bottom edges neat. And I'm gonna use my spatula as well, along with the base of the pyramid. Using the spatula as well. And then going on around, working on the tip as well as I am working with the piece. So if you had to make some three-dimensional pieces, I don't know how your mind would help you or tell you to construct these pieces, but you can do it by actually making a simple template. So making something three-dimensional, you would make one of the piece, like if you was making a triangle, make one of the piece, and then say to yourself, making it three-dimensional makes it have different sides, like your body has a front, a back, a right, a left. And so I'm gonna just spray this lightly and use my spatula to smooth these creases a bit. Not too much to take the brick all the way out. And all I'm gonna do, even though it has like a lot of slip mixing with it, you can't tell, but I'm really going up and down. We're gonna go ahead and use that sponge to kind of get a fine smooth with that. As I'm doing the top edges around the 4 sides, I'm also going around the base a little, since I sprayed it with that water. That's creating a little bit more slip for me. Also remember, working on the tip. All right, we're gonna get our sponge, immerse it in the water to get the last clay cleaned all the way out of it, and then squeeze it out really well. And just smooth those seams. I'm smoothing up and down around the base. And once again, once this leathers to the capacity that I think I can still, it's gonna be sturdy and a little bit stiff, a little leather, but I still have enough moisture in it that I can cut the lid off. I'll probably cut it off halfway to make it become some type of vessel, dish, jewelry box, or whatever. If I want to, if I feel that it's sturdy enough, I can look on the bottom, as you can see here, to see if I have really any open seams, and go ahead and score that. You can see I have brick on the bottom, which makes it even kind of more so decorative. Just score the bottom while you have a chance, while it's moist, bringing those parts together. And then I'm gonna immerse this in water and smooth around that to bring the base to the pyramid. Go back and forth, making sure you bring everything together. You want to go right and left so as not to pull the clay only one way and have the piece not even or leveled out. Because as you move the clay while it has moisture in it, it's actually moving around. I'm going to smooth that around the edge with my sponge, fine smooth it. And so you can see I use the sponge to fine smooth over, not to just continue to smooth where you're getting clay all into the piece. This paper is okay, it's not too moist. I'm gonna flip it on the other side and gently sit the pyramid down, and where I was holding it, I'm just gonna go ahead and smooth one more time, making sure that it's as smooth as possible. All right, we're gonna go ahead and transfer this piece over and get our cube done. All right. So being that the cube is smooth, I don't have to flip that over on the opposite side. I'm just gonna continue to use either side is good for the cube. So, because I don't have a design on it. So we know that this is the front, these are the sides, this will be the back, and this will be the top. Before I even, those are so many sides to work together, those are a lot of sides to work with for one person. So what I'm gonna do is gently, I don't want to wet this too much so that when I actually start lifting everything, it falls or collapses. And you know it's gonna be hollow in the inside. So before I even start, I don't even have to lift that up to bend it like I did the pyramid. I'm gonna go ahead and score each edge all the way around the piece. If you feel as though you need a mold in the inside, wet newspaper to help you hold it up, whatever you need to do to get your three-dimensional pieces done, feel free to do that. And if you somehow mess up the design or the thinness or thickness or bend your clay, you can always do just what a lot of artists do, is just start over. Some people have problems with starting over, but we only got one life to live and you're living. So what else is it to do but just start over and make it right? So sometimes, and don't look at things so bad, but failures are really good, because out of failures, you know, that's how you produce creativity, continue to take risk and try different things over and over. Sometimes out of failures, you actually learn new things or learn things that will help better the process the next time. So there's nothing wrong if something doesn't work out. You can just always start over again. All right, so once again, what I'm going to do is go ahead and bring this side up, dry my spatula off, and use it to kind of press down on those areas to bring each side up, or to flatten the crease out as needed. And before I bring another side up, I'm gonna go ahead and squeeze that seam together to put it together. Since each side is going to be flat, unlike that pyramid, I can go ahead and gently put one side or corner together. As you put each of the other sides up, you can straighten it out more. And since I have the opportunity to go ahead and look in the inside, I can use the inside to make sure to put the seam together as well, to make it more stronger and sturdy until I close everything up and do the best I can do. Okay, so I'm gonna come back on that seam and I'm gonna raise up the other side of the cube. I'm going in the inside using the spatula to press down gently into the crease to get my crease a little bit more crisp. As you can see, I'm just turning and using the palm of my hand to flatten each side to make sure they are straight. So as you can see, I've produced 4 different geometric shapes. It's about an hour's time, and you can do the same thing as well. Just, you know, have a little patience, take your time, have everything already planned out, and just go for it. So I'm scoring those 2 corners, or seams, so to speak. Bringing those together before I bring the back and the top up. And I also want to use this opportunity to get in the inside of the cube to work on those seams to make it as strong and close those up. Because once I put the other sides up, I won't be able to get into the inside unless I cut, until I cut the lid off. So right now I'm just gonna go ahead and use my spatula to go around each edge, smoothing with the flat surface, even the bottom, all the way around the 3 sides that I've already done. Dunking my spatula each time, going around the bottom and the side seams, just using pressure to push everything together gently as I go around. Even the top edges where the pieces came together, if you kind of just gently go around those, they'll just come together on their own in time as you scrape up and down, right and left. And I'm just continuing to turn the piece and go all the way around. I'm on this last side where I need to scrape, as you can see, along with the paper to get my base really straight and smooth. So right now I'm gonna do the last piece. But since I smoothed the top, I'm gonna go ahead and score that. And bring the back and the top up together. I think I want to get a brush first to smooth the inside of the creases where I scored it, just to make sure that I'm smoothing those before I close it all in. So I have a brush and just some water. I'm going to get some of that moisture out of there. Just smooth it around the edge, and that will serve as the slip. You don't want too much water in the inside to keep it too moist. And so now I'm going to bring that bottom portion up and making sure to use my spatula to go into the crease to make it a little bit more crisp. Also, and then, sorry, let me turn it around, on the top. So before I actually seal that top, I'm gonna kind of put my crease together on this side with my finger gently. And then go to the opposite side, making sure I put those two edges of the box together. And the same thing, I'm gonna take my spatula and start to smooth the base, scraping with the paper so that I can get it to flush down straight with the paper and everything, and going up the sides of the seam, up and down. And before I close that top in, if I've pushed anything in, I want to take the opportunity now to go ahead and put my hand in the inside and push everything out level where it needs to be. Make sure to look at it every angle, making sure everything's pushed out where it needs to be. Then I'm gonna go ahead and just hold that piece in. But before I actually score it like this, I want to flip the whole thing over so that it can actually become flat on the bottom portion. Sorry, I want to bend, the paper was a little wet. I want to bend it a little bit more from this edge with my, put this spatula in the crease to give it a good crisp turn, so to speak. And I'm pushing everything flush with the box. Even though I'm gonna turn it over, I'm gonna just go ahead and square that first. Then I'll turn it back over. I just wanna make sure that it kind of uses the actual base of the board to make sure to get flat. So I have to bring it, the clay back and forth together down with it. I'm gonna dunk my spatula and smooth that. Okay, now I'm just gonna gently drop the box just to get that bottom to come out and go around each side of the cube, flushed with the bottom so that it can get crisp on the edges all the way around. I can turn it on either side that I need to. My paper's getting wet, so I'm gonna flip that over and continue to flip and smooth all the way around till my edges become crisp on each of the 6 sides of the box. And I have a a lot of overage right here that I'm gonna scrape off on my slip jar, because I can always reuse that slip. If I have any shallow areas, instead of scraping on a slip jar, I'll take that clay and just put it wherever I'm missing some clay. That was a design, so I just scraped that slip over it just to easily cover over the design, so I don't have to smooth that much. And now I'm going to bathe the cube on each side with my sponge. But first I'm going to change my water. That water has gotten a little dirty. That water has gotten a little dirty from all the pieces that I've made. So I'm dunking the sponge and squeezing it out. And I'm just going to go ahead and bathe, smoothing each side. But not too wet. Once again, you don't want the cube to collapse. And as I smooth each side, I'm just going to kind of gently flip the cube and continue to go around smoothing each side. So to make sure I'm smoothing each side, I flip that. I'm just going to continue flipping the same way, bringing it towards me. That way I don't forget which sides I've already done. I know that if I flip it towards me over each time, that'll be all those 4 sides. And then I only have 2 sides to go, which would be the top and the bottom. So I'm flipping it one more time, and that'll make the 4th side. I have to wet this sponge each time because when I rub it over the pieces, the sponge gets a little dry. I saw a little dryness on the cone, so I reached over and smoothed that, which you can work on multiple pieces at a time. Remember, I already said I had to keep checking those pieces anyway. So I've done 4 sides, and I'm just gonna flip it over the opposite way to do the top and the bottom. And while I'm smoothing the top, or whichever this is the bottom, I just want to have the top with the side I'm smoothing to the top, and have the other side as the base, just to give it a little a foundation of structure while I'm smoothing. So I know that the side that I have to smooth is the total opposite side on the bottom. So I'm going to flip it 2 times to get to the bottom. That's 1. And then I have to pick it up to get it centered again. And since this is the last time that I'm going to smooth that, I'm going to change my paper out entirely. I think that paper could be drier and looking a little bit better than that. And I'm going to smooth my last side. So don't forget that I said on these pieces, you can add legs, you can add handles, you can add knobs or tops with handles, legs, arms. If you have any other creative ideas, go for it. I can make these shapes, geometric shapes, look like the geometric people. I can actually add a hat to this, some arms with legs and high heels. And later on, add a face. You know how they turn cartoon characters into people, make them look real. So this is our last shape. We have our cube. And so what I'm going to do is just take a moment and put all this stuff together so we can get to the ending of the class. I'll sit everything right here to be clean. That way it can easily be transported towards the sink. And so in a couple of seconds, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut one of the tops off so that you can see how I would possibly make a lid, make a cut, especially for Miss Bouchel's question she had. Folded all my materials, my canvas. As you can see, I've cleaned the counter over here. All right, so I'm ready. These are my pieces that we've created today. The cube, cone, cylinder, and the pyramid. And what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and make one cut today off of one of these pieces. And so what I'm going to do is grab a toggle or this wire cutter. And this particular wire cutter has a design that's scalloped like that, back and forth, smooth in a circular motion. And since I thought about it, I have another tool. I'm going to go ahead and cut two tops off. I'm going to be using this, I think this is like a pastry roller that cuts doughs and stuff like that. And it has a zigzag pattern on it, as you can see. So before I smooth this cone, I see a couple of marks here. Let's see if I can turn this. Sorry, young people. Sorry. All right, there are a couple of marks here that like look really dry. So before I cut that, I'm going to go ahead and smooth that around there. Even though it's taking some of my design out. It's okay, I want the piece not to come apart when I actually cut something off.
Kimmy, those pieces are so beautiful.
Okay, I was wondering.
And then you did it so effortless.
Thank you.
I was working last night and I did one piece, didn't even complete it, and it whooped me bad.
Wait, did you do it from a template?
No, it wasn't from a template. It was just trying to get my ends together. And now looking at you, I think it might have been easier if I had used the template.
Oh, okay. So what I'm gonna do is cut today is I'm gonna probably wrap these pieces up so that they can leather more, but I definitely think I'm gonna go ahead and cut this tree, and I'm gonna cut the cylinder. And to cut that, before I even cut, I wanna make sure that thanks for saying something. I was wondering if y'all was even out there today or if y'all was muted or whatever, but I guess y'all just actually been watching the demo. So I wanted
to say something, but nobody else was, and I kind of felt out of place, but then just watching you, I had to say something because it makes me think about what I was doing last night, because especially with the piece right there, the cube, because it was kind of on that style. It was, four-sided like that, where I had put the seams together. And then I was trying to put, go on the inside of the box, and doing the first and the second one, no problem. I did the coil and put the coil on the seam. But then as I start closing it in, I'm like, okay, so how I'm gonna get the fourth side on?
Okay, so what I'm doing is using this ruler to measure from the bottom up about, actually I forgot what I did on that side, so I have to go back 1.5 inches up, 1.5, because that's where I want to make my cut for the box. And where I made the, sorry, let me bring this down a bit, this camera. People, I see why people have people working for them in a TV studio, because one-man job, you have these type of glitches, but it's okay. So you may not be able to see my line. You can see my line a little bit. What I'm going to do is from the top corner down to that 1.5 mark, I'm going to draw a line where I want the cut of each side of the box, so to speak. So it's going to be from the top corner down like so. Well, maybe, sorry. Actually, since I just made that cut, I see that the lid is not going to be how I need it to be. So I need to erase that line. And as you can see, before I even cut, I actually just drew the line in before I made a mistake, because I know what I want to do. I have to, I rethought that as far as where it's going to be. All right, I'm still using that 1.5 mark right here, but I have to, from the top, measure about 1/2 inch. And then go back to that other opposite side and measure down from the top about 1/2 inch. To do it straight on the corner leaves no surface inside area for my lid. So from that 1/2 inch up down to that 1/4, I'm gonna draw like a slanted line. And then on the opposite side, I'm doing the same thing. And from here, I already have a slanted line meeting the top corner right there. So all I'm gonna do from the opposite sides is join that line together, as you can see. And then I'm going to match those two edges there. So as you can see, going all the way around, it's kind of like each piece is coming at an angle. And that was just to make a straight line to see actually where I want to use this roller. And what I'm going to do is cut, since this box is smooth, I'm going to use a smooth cut and get my tool that looks more like a knife on the edge here and cut gently, take my time and cut as straight as I can down the seam of that. Oops, I got off the line a little bit. So all you have to do is just get back on if you got off, all the way around that cube. Take your time, because as you cut, if you're pushing too hard, then you're gonna make the box sink in or collapse. But if you go ahead and do it quickly, you can always put your hand on the inside and close it, open it back up. So trying to cut as neat as possible. You can tell if you didn't cut that neat when you start getting all of that extra clay seeping out. So I just want to go back again and make sure my cuts are clean if it didn't come straight up. All right. And so there's my lid. I'm gonna sort of just take my time and gently open it up. And I don't want to lose too much of the clay as it pertains to where it actually sits to make it not fit. And so what I'm going to do is gently smooth everything with my finger like so, and use my sponge and just smooth over it. And that should be smooth, good enough. So right now I'm gonna get my sponge, clean it out, and gently smooth my edges with my sponge and my finger, smoothing as quickly as I can. And today, I hope you all learned something and use these techniques to create some beautiful three-dimensional pieces. You can see all my cut marks, you know, as I was moving to get through the piece. And that's why I have to take time smoothing it. I'm just smoothing a little bit while we are in the class, but I'm gonna smooth it a little bit more even perfectly after class.
So at what point will you use that tool that you showed us with the zigzags? I'm
gonna show you that on another piece.
Okay.
I was saying, just since the cube is smooth, I want to, I did not use a pattern on the cube, so I just wanted to leave my cut smooth as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I'm gonna use that in just a second. I don't want this to dry without smoothing the edge somewhat, so you'll be able to see. All right, and I changed my mind about using the zigzag pattern on here because since sometimes Christmas trees have that zigzag pattern as it pertains to the pine foliage on the tree, I thought that zigzag pattern might be kind of cool to use on the tree. So sometimes, depending on how you actually see certain things, it might seem better to use different patterns on different things just because of what ideas you are thinking of, if it goes together.
I love that design that you have there.
Thank you. You talking about on the cut of the cube?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. And so, as you can see, that's pretty smooth, although I'm gonna just let that dry a little bit and come back on that. Later, I'm gonna push that out of the way, go right to the cylinder. And since I have this scaffold, as you can see, wire cutter, I'm still going to make a line or measurement around this piece. I'm going to go maybe 4.5. I'm making a 4.5 line on one side. And so I'm kind of just making that line, go around the piece somewhat as straight as I can. But if I feel like I'm going down or up, all I have to do is go use the ruler again to make another line to make sure I'm not going too low or too high as I go around. And on this side, all the way opposite of that side, I'm just gonna make a little mark on the top. So from this line, it could be definitely on the opposite of that side in the center. And where I made that dot, I'm gonna turn it all the way around and go higher. My cut is gonna go, instead of 4.5, I'm gonna go 6.5 up. 6.5. And then I'm going to draw a straight line halfway around the cylinder, going 6.5, making sure that I keep it the same level upward on that side. 6.5 right here. And so the rest of it, I'm gonna pretty much eyeball it. As you can see here, I have this part 6.5 coming about halfway around the top of the cylinder. And going around the other side, on the bottom, you see I'm about 4.5 down on the opposite side of the cylinder. And so on the sides, what I have to do is just come up at an angle and meet that 6.5 on the other side, like so. If you're not able to eyeball that, you can use your ruler. And so it's actually like a lid where I'm coming in a slanted motion so that I'll know when I sit the lid back on there, I'll know exactly where it needs to go. Okay, so I'm gonna use this wire cutter to go ahead and press gently on this cylinder. And as you can see, it's kind of collapsing a bit and it just kind of bursts through. You can see it indented it in, but however, when I pick it up, I'll be able to push it back out from the other side. So I'm just gonna gently pull the rest of it very gently through the other side and watch as I'm pulling it on the actual line to get it leveled. So right now I'm picking it up, as you can see, and I'm just gonna open this back up like so. And just gently press that design together kind of with my finger. Opening this portion up where it collapsed a little. Pressing any imperfections down with my finger. And we're gonna sit that to the side. I'm not even gonna smooth with the sponge because it has its own design. I'm just gonna let that leather and sit it back on the top and smooth it to see, you know, if it fits really well. That's our second one. We're gonna do one more cut today with the zigzag piece. And so what I'm gonna do is just freestyle. I'm gonna just go ahead and roll this piece around here until it kind of cuts as deep as it'll allow me to go.
So that won't cut all the way through?
It's gonna cut all the way through. I'm just saying,
oh.
I'm just going as deep as it'll allow me to go without actually collapsing the whole piece down.
Oh, okay.
And so then now I'm rolling back again. So it may or may not be a good piece to use. As you can see, it gave me some kind of shape that I'm gonna actually use. I'm just gonna open it up gently and keep that shape just as it is. And once it leathers out, sit it back on top to see if it fits and smooth it where I need to. Take it back up. So I can't sit this down like this because it'll compromise or mess up the design here. Just gonna lay it to the side and also pick this portion up. Open it up if I need to where it collapsed a little.
That's kind of looking like it created its own lip.
Yeah, yeah. So once I actually sit it back on there, hopefully everything fits real good. It'll be a good, nice decorative cut. And it does have a lip where it won't slide off.
Mm-hmm.
So to smooth that will compromise where I cut it and everything. So you don't have to smooth certain stuff. Just tell yourself what's the best technique and the best way to go. And since we're on here, we got a couple more minutes before 12. I might as well just go ahead and cut the pyramid lid off. What I'm gonna do for the pyramid is cut it smooth and cut everything straight. And what I'm going to do once again is measure what angle, or sorry, what height I want the piece to be. So I'm gonna do everything at 1.5. Gonna score a little mark around each side at the 1.5 mark. And then draw a line, a straight line around the entire piece until I get a straight line around the whole pyramid, 1.5. The reason why I decided to do this straight as well is because it's so small that I want the lid to be straight so that I'll have some type of area in the, you know, a nice space in the inside to be able to use. Just keep the lid kind of small and have a really good space in the inside to be able to use. And once I figure out what these will be used for, then I'll know what other type of design aesthetic to add. Like if I really want to add legs, or I can add a door, some details, a staircase if I like. I can add a top, you know, it can be very creative. And so right now, instead of getting a knife, I think I just want to, these are small cuts. I just want to use my needle tool and kind of gently go around and cut through. Each time you cut, it's gonna feel like it's kind of pushing in or collapsing in a little bit. And all you have to do is, once you get the lids off, is just open the piece up wherever the piece is moved or whatever. And so this is off. As you can see where it got cut, there are like little shavings or whatever. Instead of taking it off, I would just make sure to smooth those and keep all the clay where it needs to be so that I don't lose any of that. But these are smooth cuts, so I can go back and smooth those. All right, it's only gonna take a second to do that. And I hope you all use these particular designs to come up with your own 3-dimensional pieces, and or create your own to create something 3-dimensional and whole and solid and new. I'm also gonna, instead of, this is a really small hole, so I'm gonna use my brush to get into the inside. Sometimes where your fingers are not able to get without messing something up, you can use a brush to smooth. Also, I'm going back, just smoothing with my finger and drying it up a bit. And I can use the sponge to super smooth and dry it up a little bit more. All right, so I'm gonna dump some of that water out that came from that brush and make sure my shape is still like a square in the inside. Since I have 4 sides, this is a 4-sided pyramid, I'm gonna sit that down and actually just kind of go around my edge a little bit as it pertains to around the edge of the lid. I'm gonna use my brush because the sponge is a little bit large to go around that piece. Once again, it's so small, I'm just using the brush since it's something so small and refined, and quickly scratch where the area is on the actual top of the pyramid and smooth that as well. Only takes a couple minutes. And actually, I mean, sometimes it would take somebody this long to make maybe one of these pieces, but it took
yes. Yes.
It took just a little while to make 4 pieces and cut them, and I have 4 lids, 4 vessels that are actually functional and could be possibly just used for artwork to be set on, to be displayed somewhere. So they can be art pieces and used as a functionality to keep safe or keep things inside. And as you can see, as I am smoothing the inside of this piece, I'm making sure to open it up to make sure the square looks open as neat as possible. I'm gonna also, that hole is a little bit small, but I'm just gonna brush some of this water off on the side of the cup and go ahead and use that to fine smooth around here. And I'm also using the brush to open up, the square as needed and smooth around that edge as well. Okay, I want to dry it up and just sit this particular piece on the top. I have to let those other ones leather more just to see how the fit is. Gently pick that up. I think that looks good, even though I'm gonna cut it off more. I mean, cut it off again, not cut it off, but take it off so that it doesn't stick since it's like really moist and stuff. And then I can sit this cube on here to see how that fits. So the low side goes with the high side. And see how that fits. And that looks
that reminds me of our conversation box.
Okay, yes, ma'am. The story boxes, yep.
Yeah.
And so, yep, you're right. I remember those beautiful boxes. And so that one fits really well. Although as it leathers, when it gets a little bit harder, I can actually smooth with my sponge to make the edges come together more and the seams look more flawless and smooth. But I don't want to do that right now until it gets a little bit harder so that it doesn't stick together and everything. And these two, I'm going to actually let them leather more to actually get harder so that I don't have to smooth those edges so they can come together more perfectly. And so right now, so that I don't get too much dirt on my camera, I'm gonna rinse my hands, keep everything clean, dry my hands up, and are there any questions for today? Any comments?
I really enjoyed the class because, as I said before, it made me think about what I was doing last night. And I think if it had been reversed, if I had saw this and then did my class this night, it would have been easier for me.
But didn't you see the class last week when I started making the paper?
Yes, yes, I did.
And at that time, y'all didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I was thinking that I would do the demo this week. So somebody was saying, well, they didn't understand how I was going to put those templates. I was just saying I'm going to put them on the flat slab of clay and trace them and actually put all that stuff together. And you see, it helps you out tremendously to have everything planned out and kind of, as you're cutting and putting everything together, the pieces are kind of leathering so you can easily put them together, being that you're one person. You don't have to even have, you saw I never even got a bottle or anything to sit on the side to hold them up. I just put the
I noticed that.
Yeah, so you can do it too and just take your time. And for the finish of these, I'm gonna wrap all of them up because I do want to add some type of designs to them. Like on the pyramid, I might add a door and some little steps. On the actual cube, I'm probably gonna add, or the other pieces, I might add some legs or arms or some little handles to pick up the pieces. So that'll be done for me to show you all next class. And if you have a chance to make templates, please do so that you can create your own pieces. And I'm gonna also keep those small templates for when we return back into class, if any of you would like to use them, because it doesn't make sense to throw them away if they are really good pieces of paper and they can be used. Thank you so much for joining Hand-Built Pottery. We had a long class today from 10:30 to 12. It was really, really fun. And I enjoyed doing the demo. I actually didn't even think I was going to finish all 4 pieces. Thanks for your comments and your compliments. And I would love to see you all create something very beautiful and 3-dimensional with templates. Also, you can think of doing like names as well. For example, if you wanted to do a G, if you wanted to do a G for Gloria, you trace your G out, kind of have it thick, not too thin, and then trace a second G out from that first G. You're gonna have a front side and a back side, and then you're gonna cut out a long strip to go around the edge or the sides of the piece, whatever you want to call it. And however, once I have one G laying down, I would score it all the way around the side, the edges, and then sit my side up on it and put that together with the seams and let it leather. I would let that leather some. And I would have my other G sitting down flat, and I would flip the one that I put the sides on over it and secure that and put it all together. Then you'll have an actual 3-dimensional G. You see those sometimes made out of like wood or cardboard in certain stores. And so if you want to create one with clay, you can. It doesn't have to be a G. It can be any letter you want. It could be a B, a B for your last name.
Yes.
Just be creative. You can even make a heart or any type of shape or design. I'm just trying to give you the basics of something you can do so that you can go. I like to start off slow and then go to more elaborate pieces.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, Kimmy, I need you to call me at your very earliest convenience.
No problem. I will.
All right. Thank you so much.
Young people, so I just want to say one thing. I'm working at the Harriet G. Darnell facility on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 9 o'clock until 1:30 if you all need to do anything as it pertains to the clay schedule, if you need to pick up anything or drop anything off. Yes, Miss Etheria?
That's what I was about to ask. When was the next schedule?
It's going to be next Wednesday, but right now it's today up until 1:30.
Do we come in or do we just call you and get there?
You can't come into the building. Seniors are not permitted into the building until they give us notification. Like they said, seniors would re-enter into the building on July the 12th. However, even I heard something about it may be as late as August. I'm not really sure. So if you needed to come up here, all you have to do is just call me and meet me in the back near the classroom door or my car.
I can come at 10 Wednesday?
10. On Wednesday, my class is at 10:30. So if you want to come right at 10 o'clock, that's fine.
Okay.
But my class is over at 11:30. Usually my class is from 10:30 to 11. So between that time, it's not good, but 10 is good. It only takes me 5 or 10 minutes to get what you need.
Okay, I want to drop off.
Okay, no problem. 10 o'clock is good on Wednesday, and I'll be here until 1:30. And for Miss Etheria and Miss Gloria, I will be giving you all a call.
Thank you.
But I need it as soon as you can.
Oh, yes, ma'am, no problem. So thank you so much for supporting and joining Hand-Built Pottery. My name is Kimberlie Wright. Have a wonderful and blessed day and enjoy your weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good weekend, ladies.
Peace and love.